Yeah, we're here again on this podcast.
What is it called?
Worship culture podcast.
Get out. Welcome back, everybody,
To worship
to
church
culture in our daily reading
Cult.
plan.
Emphasis on the cult.
Reading plan. We are in Deuteronomy, starting in chapter 3.
Dude. Deuteronomy. Do a run on me?
What?
What?
Deuteronomy.
Wow. What did we leave off on? What happened when we left off? We just started Deuteronomy.
No, I know, but what happened?
See, what happened was... let's see. So Deuteronomy is... it's also called the second law, second covenant. Right?
So what I've been noticing, or that this week that we read Deuteronomy, I see it as more of kind of like like Moses is reiterating the laws, retelling the Israelites, hey, don't forget to do this, don't forget to do this. Like that's what I've read, like the whole general theme of this week's reading. And so yeah.
Do you agree, JP?
Agreed.
Manny?
Mm-hmm.
Such a lie. So yeah, I think so too. Only that I think the only reason why he's retelling all the laws is because I think because this generation of Israelites are the ones that survived and are going to be allowed to go through, he has to. I think God might have told Moses, you know what, you have to tell him again what it is that I actually want to get through to them with these laws. Maybe not even redefine them, but more reiterate them, like you said, because there's a new generation going through. So they have to be told either you can't be like the old generation or you're going to end up like them, basically.
Yeah, because the people are, as we've seen, they disobey a lot, and they seen all these miracles, signs, and wonders, and they still want to not obey God. So I think it's just more like Moses. Okay, I think I know how these people are. Let me just, before I leave, before I die, I gotta, reiterate this.
What do you think, Manny?
Yeah, it seems like just a reinforcement. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a reinforcement of he wants to make sure you understand what's going to happen, or just be sure. I guess a refresher.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm thinking in chapter 3 of Deuteronomy, they start talking about how they're going through these towns and cities, and they're pretty much destroying them, I guess, or beating them, defeating them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like this King Og, who's supposedly still one of the giants there, one of the Nephilim. I think he said he's like almost 14 feet, and that he needs to have an iron bed to even hold them up.
Wow.
That he's basically like twice the size as Shaq, which is crazy.
What?
Yeah.
That's a Nephilim, aren't they?
Yeah. So then I think Moses tries to get God to forgive his disobedience. But I think that's something that I think, not that Moses is petty, but I think he shows like a little bit of pride to where he doesn't even want to ask the forgiveness. Maybe because he thinks he knows that God won't even. Because like what he did it's already
Oh, at
he already
the
decided.
with the water and at the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think he holds all the leadership to a higher standard, right? Because I think that's why he didn't forgive him, and he didn't let him go through, just because the leadership is the one showing or leading the people, right? So I don't think. Imagine if God forgives them, and then the people are like, "Well, I mean, we can do anything because if God can forgive him, he can."
Well, I think he forgave him. It was that
Or
he
yeah,
allowed the consequences to happen. So.
yeah, the disobedience.
Like with David too, he forgave him because he still had the heart, but he had to follow with the consequences that came from his actions.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard because Moses seemed like he was a great man, and just for a simple mistake, but hey,
But I think that's key for the Israelites, right? Like, if you disobey, you're gonna suffer the consequences.
yeah,
It's not like how we are now. I think we also now like suffer consequences if we disobey. It's not so much that God doesn't forgive; He forgives that we sinned against Him. But I think we still get punished for being disobedient.
yeah. And I guess just to show them, like you said, to the people, because if he kind of shows a little bit, I guess to him, everybody's gonna be like on God, like why you on when I don't know when Moses it was something different, like he wasn't like everybody else, but I guess with it's always like God have the prophets and stuff like that with a higher standard than everybody else. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think if he didn't if he did let Moses in, like it wouldn't even make sense to have any of these laws because anybody can get through it anyway.
And I wonder if it was maybe God's plan for that, because maybe he would have been buried there. Maybe that's what God wanted to avoid. Maybe they're gonna make if he would have been able to get in there, he's gonna have a burial place, and they're gonna know where he's at and stuff like that. As like that, he made it seem like he's nowhere to be found, so nobody can worship him or make an altar for him. Maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Well, I mean, it gets even worse because he has to now bless his predecessor, which is Joshua, and he has to teach him the ways and stuff of what he's doing, and he has to bless him like to be the next leader. But luckily for Moses and Joshua, the Israelites, they look at Joshua as like the second Moses.
Yeah, like they obey him, stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast lady, she would say that Moses blessing his predecessor is like blessing your best man to marry the love of your life.
Oh my gosh. I mean, who else is gonna do it? Like.
And
but he's gonna die though.
Yeah.
It's not like he's alive.
Can't live forever.
Yeah, but that shows like how he could have been petty, like but you know that Moses like died to himself every day, that he was going through this whole process of transitioning, because there's no way like anybody else would be like chill enough to even like go through the whole process and not be at least bitter. Maybe he was bitter and it didn't show, maybe.
Well, he said it. I mean, I think a couple chapters later, I said, I was like, oh, dang, he really was mad or was.
Yeah, because he asked, right?
Yeah, he asked, like, can I go still? I forgot what chapter it was, so, it's still in his mind. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's still human.
I could ask too.
Yeah.
But I think he knows that what he did was like very wrong. And I think he knew too that if God would have forgiven him, I think it makes more sense that he doesn't go through, because the laws are more, they make more sense in the way that no one can, not even the leader can get past the laws. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then Moses starts with his farewell speech, right?
Basically, yeah.
He starts going over the 10 Commandments.
He's telling them what to do. Like in chapter 6, all he talks about is loving your God, and his biggest thing I saw before the 10 Commandments was no idolatry. Like he was really like, don't, like, no other God, don't worship any. That I think that was one of his biggest things, because that's what happened when he was in the mountain. You know, he came down and there's a gold calf. You know, like he doesn't.
But also, I think he knows that they're already gonna fail once he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to just like tell them, hey, like reiterating the same thing. Don't get false idol. Don't create an idol. Don't, because that he knows that that's how they're gonna fall. Yeah,
and I guess putting it this is probably mainly for Joshua too, because he's got to know how to delegate. He has. I mean, I'm sure he knows how the people have acted all these years. He's been there since the beginning. But I think it's more for him as well to show him, like, hey, this is how the people act. This is how I've dealt with it with God, you know, not just me on my own. So I don't know.
Yeah, another thing too is that he really stated to them that they cannot be mixing with the Canaanites, because he knows that so God wants to drive them out because of the practices that they do, and he knows that if he lets them stick around, they're going to influence them, because we know Israel is like so prone to fall back on what they know, and if those people are there, they'll see that, oh, they worship the idols, and maybe we can worship those idols, and where we can actually get something good going. But they're always complaining. So, but I think that's why God doesn't also, or Moses is telling him, do not mix with those people.
Don't, yeah.
Yeah. So then he keeps on talking. He reviews their whole journey, what they've been through these past 40 years.
Literally, like they haven't forgotten.
The whole overview.
But like I'm saying, it's just to remind them, hey, this is what happens when you do this. Well, it's not even for the old generation, because they're not going to get into the promised land. It's not really, you can't really tell them anything. They're not going to go in. It's more for the new ones to learn from what their parents did or whatever, to learn to not to do that, to stick with God, obey him, and he will lead you to the promised land. And he will give you, towards the end, when they do get to it, you know, they divide the land, and he does what he says. God does what he told of Moses from the beginning. So
I like how in chapter 9 he has to reiterate, you're gonna get this land, but don't think that it was on your own strength, you know?
Yeah.
Like it says, when the Lord your God has driven them out before you, do not say to yourself, the Lord has brought me here to take possession of this land because of my righteousness. You know? Because they're if they would have said it's because of them, you're at that point making an idol of yourself. You know, like, look what I did. Look how many people I brought up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and God said it's because of the other nation's unrighteousness is the reason why that I'm bringing you to victory. It was God wants their attention and their heart.
Yeah.
They don't want anything else. Yeah, so I think he's trying to teach them discipline, right? Instead of trying to always just punish them. And there's a difference, right? Whenever we think something bad is happening to us, we think it's just punishment, but it's actually we're being disciplined to recognize and critical think of what's going on. And instead of always thinking that we're the victims, instead of trying to assess the problem and learn from it and get better. And it's nothing like the Israelites. They're always complaining. It's pretty cool. I think once we get to like Judges and stuff, we'll see like the the vicious cycle of all this stuff happening. But once we get there, right? So we're going to still to Deuteronomy and
I saw that I highlighted in chapter 13, they talk about prophets. This is your bread and butter.
But before the prophets, the funny part is that God tells Moses to make new tablets of the Ten Commandments.
Oh yeah, because he broke them, right?
Yeah.
Moses broke them, but he had to make them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first ones, and come up to me on the mountain. Also, make a wooden ark. It's kind of like, hey, while you're at it, do this
Before you die.
Literally.
Yeah, I think Manny had mentioned that one story. Manny, remember you saying that it was this guy who got a calling from God, and when someone else told him, "Oh, well, but God told me this," and then so you talked to God too. Oh, well, if God said it, then he gets seen by life. Remember?
Think so.
Okay.
That's yes.
So yeah, so false prophets can be right, but they're not always from God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it said.
So God tests his people with false prophets to see if they actually are like down with the.
Oh, you're
with
talking
the law.
about in the Bible where the other verse where he sends he'll say, "Who will entice the king for me?"
Right.
And then the spirit comes from and says, "I will." God says, "What will you do?" He goes, "I'll be a lying spirit to the prophets," and stuff like that.
Yep. And so then Moses on 14, he started talking about you can't be shaving your head, you can't be cutting yourself.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
The scar.
Right there.
I have a bunch of scars.
Wow.
Then-
Intentional.
I don't know where they got
cuts.
them from.
Oh, I remember getting this one. I don't know if y'all can see it. This one here.
You stabbed yourself?
No, I got caught on a chain link fence chasing Sebas, I think.
Of course.
And then still there. That's Mexico for you.
Aliens.
So yeah, no shaving your head, JP. No cutting yourself, Manny. Let's see. What else? Let's see.
He talked about tithe a little bit. Make sure to tithe each year.
Yeah, he's basically doing a recap of all the laws.
Literally, yeah.
Oh, so there's this weird thing that the Jewish people do. So one of the punishments, I forget what the punishment is for, but it's 40 lashes. The punishment is 40 lashes. But they only do 39.
Because 40 is death, right?
No, because if they go over 40,
Yeah.
that's breaking the law.
Yeah.
So just to ensure that they get under 40 or at 40, they only do 39.
Is that why Jesus only got 39 lashes?
Exactly.
Yes.
The law is 40. So they build like a fence around the law to protect the law and not break it. But then it's weird because though that fence around the law becomes actual law.
Mm.
And it just becomes chaos because it's like stepping, see how far you can get before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's why it's 39 lashes. It's actually 40. The law's 40.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's an interesting thing that I never even thought of or knew.
Yeah.
And it's so like in 21, I think they talk about rebellious kids get stoned to death.
At least teenagers.
Yeah, but have you ever known a non-rebellious teenager? Exactly. I thought so. Yeah, right. Bro, I was the most rebellious.
And I kept seeing, like, after every, like, law or whatever it always said, you must purge the evil from among you. I'm like, dang.
We would all be dead in this generation.
Like, how many people actually went to the promised land?
And it's crazy how people in these days try to interpret it, right? But their culture is way different than ours. Was way different. It still is, too. They probably adjusted now to not seem not to break the laws of the land, but it's still in effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy that women were always given the benefit of the doubt. So there was a Me Too back then.
You're wrong.
Oh, me too.
What? Yeah, because there is this one example I think they give where if a woman accuses a man of being sexually assaulted outside of the city where no one else
Oh yeah.
knew or saw it, they would give the woman the benefit of the doubt because there was no witnesses.
Yeah.
But if it was done inside the city and there was witnesses and she claimed that she was sexually assaulted, then do not believe all women.
Exactly.
But wasn't it like if you heard her yell, then it's a man. But if you didn't hear her yell, then
It's the woman.
Yeah. Well, it should be both of them, but the woman. And I guess it's depending, right? Because usually it'll be both of them, but still, if the woman yelled or stuff like that, it'll be against the man. But if you didn't, yeah.
Yeah, the laws were meant for the Israelites to be set apart. It wasn't for God to punish them. And I think the laws were so severe or strict only because all the rest of the cities and people around them, they just did whatever they wanted. So God wanted to set them apart, and that's why the laws were so strict, so that they won't be cursed. So we're no longer cursed because Jesus hung on the cross and took the curse for us, right? So,
Amen.
Yeah.
Preach.
But I mean, that's pretty much it. You have any last thoughts about this, Manny? I know Deuteronomy is like mainly hearing Moses talk, doing his final speech. But what do you take out of this?
Well, I just know Moses is a great man. And other than that,
Stubborn, but
nah, I could understand like what he went through. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I don't think we would be able to do that, but he made his mistakes, and I think that's why God keeps it, to show us that we are all gonna make mistakes. You know what I mean? Even the great ones, because like that, people start seeing the man as God. God does it to show that they even make mistakes too. Like maybe somebody had Moses as a God. You know what I mean? Maybe that one or two people, but by God doing that, it makes it seem like he makes mistakes too. There's no God, only God himself, So no matter how great he was, he made mistakes. And even in earth right now, there's nobody that we should follow, just God. And because each man is going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. So it's better just to look at God and, stuff like that.
Well, imagine if Moses was alive today and he was still doing his thing, like being in the leadership. Like someone would uncover a past tweet of his or pull up his criminal record of him killing an Egyptian, and he'd be canceled right away. Yeah. So these days are way more crazier, only because I think we're more connected than ever. We know what's happening across the earth in real time. So it'd be pretty hard to raise up another leader like Moses today. What do y'all think?
I think Manny was right, because if I'm sure one or two people worship Moses, like, oh, he did this, he parted the Red Sea, he got water from a stone, he did this, I think God doing all that, not letting him go into the promised land, like Manuel said, it was them showing him that yes, he is a great man of God, but he's not God, And I can see it too. I mean, we got people today that worship prophets and pastors in the same level of God, So I see it.
Well, for me, I like mainly when he was talking about not forgetting him, not because I think because He knows how stubborn they are, and still speaks to us too. Like, hey, don't forget him. Don't forget everything he's done, even if he hasn't done anything, even if God is quiet and whatever. But he has a plan and purpose, and so that's just what and one of the verses that I highlighted says in chapter 8, to teach you that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. So he's just trying to reiterate that to them, like, hey, you can't go into the promised land alone. You can't go in with what you know or what you think you know. You have to obey me. You have to, like you said, he's setting them apart for a reason, because he knows what's there. He knows how the Canaanites are living right now, and he doesn't want them to be like that, just to follow his word.
So I think it's pretty interesting. The Bible recap lady, she mentioned that Deuteronomy is one of the most quoted scriptures by Jesus. Like he quotes it more than any other one, I believe. And so it's crazy that it's more of and I think this is more of just reiterating of the law, and not like the actual law. I think was in Numbers and Leviticus, right? So it's the retelling of the laws now and giving it a different spin, because it's a new group of people that are going into the promised land. So I think that speaks volumes into, because I think killing off the old generation, it's like us killing our past selves, and then this is the new us going into a new, or the new blessing. If that makes any sense.
Amen.
But yeah, all right. Thanks guys for watching. Catch you on the next one.
Oops.